A very good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to our event, Sustainability Exchange, the Showcase. We are very excited to be convening this gathering today to commemorate a key milestone of our Sustainability Exchange program. My name is Jessica Chiam. I'm founding director of the nonprofit EB Impact, and I'm delighted to be your host today. I want to start by thanking all of you for taking the time here to be with us. Sustainability Exchange is a new program launched by EB Impact in partnership with Facebook and supported by the Climate Action SG Alliance last year. It is a first of its kind initiative aimed at accelerating the understanding of sustainability issues among youths and to enable them to apply it in real-world business and policy contexts. When we first launched it, we had no idea what the response would be like, and we had targeted an initial batch of 50 youths, but we had overwhelming response, and our mentorship program ended up attracting more than 146 youths and 59 mentors from a wide range of organizations and all walks of life. These youths and mentors were then carefully curated into groups, and it officially kicked off in January this year, with the teams working on specific problem statements that revolved around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Out of this program, 21 wonderful creative solutions emerged, ranging from food waste management to enhancing sustainability reporting to accelerating sustainable innovation and development in Singapore. Since we launched, the government has also unveiled the Singapore Green Plan, which sets out specific targets for Singapore's sustainable development, underlining the importance of sustainability issues on the national agenda. In many ways, these 21 ideas are the first steps on this important journey ahead to achieve greater sustainability. And today, we are here to celebrate all of them. All these youths and mentors have really put such hard work, and I mean HEART, into all these ideas, and the breadth and quality of these ideas have really shone through. I want to just highlight all the project names here as well as their mentors. I want to give a shout out to all 21 teams, and you can see all their names. Huge congratulations to all of you for reaching this amazing milestone. We will be sharing details of all your projects on the EB Impact website and also supporting your teams beyond this initial ideation phase to make it into reality. For today's event, unfortunately, due to time constraints, we are unable to profile every single one of the 21 ideas. So we decided to shortlist 5 proposals for the showcase today. It was also really difficult to pick which 5 would present because all the ideas were of very high quality and amazing originality. And we wish that we would have time to really pick all of them for today's event. But the ideas that you're going to see today have been picked for the creativity and also the potential for impact. And we have a very exciting agenda planned for this afternoon, where we will be hearing from these teams, and also we'll be getting live feedback from our evaluators. And then we will be moving on to a discussion from some of our own youths and mentors on their experience in this program, as well as insights on sustainable development more broadly. Before we move into proceedings, I'd like to share that this conversation is also being live streamed on the EB Impact Facebook page. So please do help spread the word by reposting our Facebook Live video, liking our page, and using our hashtags, #SustainabilityExchange and #EBImpact. I hope that all of you can participate in this lively discussion by adding your thoughts into our chat boxes, whether you're on Zoom or whether you are on Facebook. And we will also be doing a quick interactive Q&A later. So please do give us your thoughts and your questions. Finally, before I hand over this to our partnerships manager, Samantha, I would like to invite all of you to turn up the volume and enjoy this video that we've put together for you, produced with the kind support of the Prodigious Group. Here is the Sustainability Exchange experience.
How can corporates and youths come together to help partner with the government to fight climate change? What if we were to pair sustainability professionals with youths who are like-minded?
I trust that through this mentorship program, our youth will gain valuable knowledge and experience working on sustainability issues.
It's immensely important for us to engage with the next generation
What sort of interesting green growth ideas can come out from the program to benefit Singapore and the region?
We hope these relationships will spark new, fresh thinking on green growth and sustainable development models for Singapore's future.
So thank you, Jessica, for that introduction. So hi, esteemed guests, judges, and teams. I'm Samantha, the Partnerships Manager of EB Impact. Today we have with us a panel of distinguished judges, Mr. Kenneth Sim from the Ministry of Sustainability and the Environment, Ms. Sylvia Lee from Facebook, Dr. Winston Chow from SMU, and Ms. Jessica Cham of Eco-Business and EB Impact. We'd like to thank all 21 teams for all your hard work over the last 3 months. So 5 of these 21 teams will be presenting their ideas to our panel of judges, starting with 5 minutes to present, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. Without further ado, let's invite the first team, SUSX, to present their idea.
Hi, can I check if everyone can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Perfect.
The future of capital is green. It's great that Singapore is driving sustainable finance, but how does this concern individuals like you and I? Presenting to you SUSX, which consists of Li Hui, Rilin, Vanessa, myself, Yasmin, and our mentor Lynette. We believe that everyone can be part of the future of green capital and make our investments sustainable. This refers to investing in products that consider environmental, social, and governance factors bring about sustainable development outcomes. With more destructive climate events, climate change will cost 7.9 trillion by 2025, and its impacts are already being felt. We need to channel more resources into climate solutions to support net zero targets. Fortunately, ESG-related global funds available are growing and have doubled in just a year, showing an opportunity for you to make an impact with your investments. With the majority 94% of millennials interested in sustainable finance, we aim to target the millennial market, which will be worth 135.5 million in Singapore by 2025. Despite their interest, many millennials are apprehensive and not investing yet.
To summarize what we have shared, our problem statement is, how might we empower millennial retail investors to overcome the current barriers to sustainable investing, to accelerate climate finance and actions for the SDGs? Through surveys and interviews, we found that the top 3 barriers were that consumers do not know where to begin or where to invest in and are unsure if a product is truly sustainable or greenwashing. We also identified 3 types of people who would like to help. Firstly, shopper Sean, a clueless beginner. Secondly, apprehensive Amy, who wants more information on the risk and sustainability. Lastly, Imra, who would like to evaluate the impact of his investments. These personas also want to see services like a guide to ESG ratings, information on the products available, and a tool with customized recommendations.
We have created a solution just for them. Introducing to you SUSX, a one-stop digital platform for retail investors to learn, browse, and invest in sustainable finance products. In addition, by looking at trending searches and activities on the platform, we can gain valuable information about consumer preferences, which can help us and financial institutions best meet their needs. This is how we plan to educate, initiate, and accelerate users on their sustainable investing journey. This is a rough mock-up of our platform. It provides a beginner's guide to sustainable finance, ratings, and the SDGs, as well as a database for users to search for suitable products and view the relevant product information. If they've decided to make a purchase, a simple click can redirect them to the platforms that offers these products. For the curious Sean's, Amy's, and Imras out there, our platform will also be hosting educational events featuring experts in the field, as well as forums for discussions and polls. While we will initially offer our content to users for free in order to gain a substantial user base, We aim to monetize our operations by providing paid subscription services such as customized product recommendations and monitoring services for their portfolio. For the financial institutions, we value add to them by providing customer insights, behavioral analytics, and marketing opportunities. Hence, our platform bridges the complex world of sustainable finance and the layman investor by improving the accessibility and transparency of products.
So our development plan and milestones can be broken down into 3 key phases. Now that we are in the second half of the preparation phase, we need to start testing our assumptions moving forward to ensure that our solution meet the needs and wants of the partners and our users. So in the first phase, we are moving to become a trusted ESG information provider. The first pillar is to build the database of ESG and personal finance information. In parallel, we will also build our platform. The second pillar is to build the ecosystem. We acknowledge that there are many information providers in this space, hence collaboration as opposed to competition would be critical. And lastly, we need to build a strong user base. We have already started consolidating contacts of interested parties and are intending to engage them for beta testing and soft launch of our platform. Once we have proven to be a trusted advisor for retail investors, we are in a strong position to engage financial institutions and move on to the second phase. This is also where we will start to develop a financial model through features discussed earlier. So we have 3 key asks for our journey ahead. First, we need funding, we need connections to strategic partners, and we need builders for the database and a platform. With that, I will close up our pitch and move to the Q&A session. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and thank you, eBeam and Facebook, for the opportunity to present. We're excited to hear your thoughts and questions. Over to you, Samantha.
So thank you, SASX. For your presentation. So now let's head over to hear what our judges have to say. Perhaps Sylvia, do you have any questions or feedback for the team?
Yes, I'm very excited by the project that you have presented. My question is around what is your research in terms of the willingness of people to pay for the services?
Yeah, if I may take the question. At the moment, we haven't had a chance to do like a hard survey of the amount that people are willing to pay yet. So so far we have only acquired like indications of interest from some of the respondents in our survey. Yeah, so that's the short answer. But we are looking to explore this in our next part.
Yes, so if I may add on and redirect our slides back to the development plan. So currently, due to time constraints, so we couldn't really go deep into development plan. But if you see over here in the preparation phase, currently we have done preliminary surveys as well as interviews, and moving forward. And then from those findings, we came up with this idea to address some of the needs and the wants that were raised. And from this point on, now that we have the idea, it's really to test some of the critical assumptions, including what you've mentioned, the willingness to pay of our users.
Thank you.
So over to maybe Kenneth. Do you have anything to add to Sylvia's question or any feedback for the team?
Yeah, sure. So I think first of all, it's a really great idea. You're plugging a market gap by providing consolidated information to the retail investor. I guess one question and one feedback for consideration. The question is actually quite close to what Sylvia was talking about earlier, which really was about how you monetize this. I was wondering whether you would also have considered, in addition to a subscription-based model from the retail investors, but also to get some sort of revenue from the, I guess, the fund side. You know, for example, you could, if you get a referral, then maybe some sort of revenue from there. So that's something to think about. The feedback I have is about presenting the information in addition to the sustainability credentials, so to speak, of all the different funds. It may also be useful for you to give some financial information, for example, rate of return, performance relative to benchmarks. So I think that's important to as a one-stop solution for potential retail investors. Thanks.
So thank you so much, Kenneth. Perhaps now let's move on to the next team. So now over to the Green Concierge to present their idea. So you have the floor and 5 minutes is yours.
Thanks, Samantha. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's loading.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan, and I'll be presenting on behalf of the Green Concierge team, which consists of myself, Audrey, Jeremy, and Chue, under the tutelage of our mentor, Sylvia. So we are focusing on SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. And more specifically, we chose to focus on the hospitality industry because our mentor works in that space. And we're looking specifically at the focus service and boutique hotel industry because they have more resource constraints and the ones that are a bit slower to progress in their sustainability journeys. So really looking at how can we change attitudes and improve awareness in this space so that they can pivot towards sustainability long term. So when we did our initial research, we found that the focus service or budget hotels do contribute a lot of waste as well, and that one of the key and a lot of Singaporeans don't really see climate change as a key issue. So with those tidbits in mind, we went to talk to different hotel stakeholders to understand what was stopping them in their journey to become more sustainable. And one of the key gaps that we found was that the lack of appreciation and understanding from hotel guests about sustainability was a key stopping point. So for example, if a hotel were to try and remove plastic bottles from to reduce their single-use plastics, some hotel guests might accuse them of trying to cut costs or just trying to save money and make more money off of their guests. And so some guests may then go to other traditional hotels that still provide that full experience, which you can see in outcome A on the top. So ideally, the challenge is really to get move from outcome A to outcome B, where you have environmentally conscious guests that do support hotels in their journey to become more sustainable. And that's when we realized, okay, communication and education was key to that process. So we looked at how can we create an experience that really gets them thinking, talking to guests about sustainability and converting them from a typical hotel guest to an environmentally conscious one so that they can support hotels on that journey. And that brings us to our solution, the Green Concierge. We want to be a sustainable experience curator that supports hotels to design unique, tailored experiences to enhance the guest experience, but also kickstart conversations around sustainability in the context of a hotel. And ultimately, the goal is to cultivate a stronger mandate for hotels to pursue further sustainability initiatives. So there are two key components to this program. The first is staff training, because in talking to hotels, we realized that we had to get staff to a basic foundational level of sustainability knowledge before they could even think about running an experience. And the second part is the experience itself, which could be an art installation, a guest workshop, or a combination of both. And long-term, we're looking to have this program be housed under our sustainability partner, Green Nudge. And we're already in talks with the Singapore Hotel Association to have them endorse the program and maybe even provide financial support so that more hotels would want to come on board. Our value proposition for hotels is threefold. Firstly, to build corporate reputation in terms of enhancing that guest experience, but also to create positive branding opportunities for the hotel through the experience. Secondly, is to embed sustainability in hotel operations. So for example, through the experience, they will have to create a waste separation infrastructure, as well as to train their staff, and that will help to start their sustainability journey. And thirdly is to build a track record for the hotel in terms of waste reduction, as well as in terms of that stronger mandate that I mentioned earlier. So we currently have 3 sustainable experiences in mind, but we're hoping to diversify more. And we've already secured partners for all of them. The goal of all of our experiences is to really get participants thinking about the life cycle of a product. So for example, the soap making workshop makes use of used soap bars from hotel rooms to make new soap. The plastic bottle terrariums make use of used plastic bottles to create potted plants. And the eco art workshops bring in artists to look at different aspects of waste generated, such as decommissioned towels that can be turned into different products for guests or even just to be featured in the hotel. In terms of how we measure our impact, there's two key metrics. We're looking at the weight of materials or waste that's diverted as a result of our experience, as well as the number of people engaged, both staff as well as guests. Our short-term outcomes would be the successful implementation of the experience, as well as a change in attitudes, which we'll measure through surveys. Long-term, we want to see a sustained reduction in the waste generated by the hotels engaged, as well as an increase in sustainable initiatives as a result of this improved mandate. In terms of next steps, we've already received interest from the Frasers Group and the Hilton Garden Inn, and we're submitting proposals this week for their consideration. Our goal is to have a pilot at least one of these venues, but in July or August, so that we can submit an impact report sometime in September. And then we'll be doing our pilot testing in advance of these pilots in the venues in June. So thank you for listening, and I'll hand it over to the rest of the team to take the Q&A. Samantha, please.
So thank you to the Green Concierge. Now let's hear from our judges. Maybe because, so Kenneth, you're a Director of Environmental Policy at the MSE. Perhaps you would like to shed some on your thoughts on the Green Concierge idea.
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. So I think it's great that the team picked the hotel sector. One, it's a fairly resource intensive, as Ethan pointed out, but I think second, also because the hotel industry is very much consumer facing, and there is a greater incentive for the hotel industry to pivot and have more sustainable products and experiences for its clients. So I think it's a generally well thought out idea. I like it that it combines sustainability with the actual experience, which is exactly what hotels should provide. Maybe one area to start is to get maybe explicit endorsement from SHA and STB. They will probably also be aligned to your objective of marketing Singapore as a sustainable tourist destination. So I mean, all in all, I thought it was a good idea. Thanks.
So thank you so much, Kenneth. Thank you to Ethan, Chu Wei, Sylvia, and Jeremy. So I think due to time constraints, we should now move on to Team 3, Team Footprint. So you may begin whenever you're ready.
Just checking that everybody can see our screen.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Rainer. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lumitics. I am the mentor for Team Footprint. Together with me is Ashley, Ashwin, Tammy, and Liang. Footprint is a word play on the phrase environmental footprint. It refers to the environmental footprint of food. Here's what we'll be covering today. Ashwin, you're muted.
Okay, so regarding the UN Sustainable Development Goals, our project focuses largely on SDG number 13, Target 3, which focuses on driving climate action through education. Our project believes that the most effective way of climate action is positively educating the population on the climate effects of their food choices. Due to the complexity of the global food supply chain, many are unaware of the actual carbon footprint generated by their choices, as it is not readily available to them. Breaking it down using an intuitive method spurs consumers to make more responsible food decisions, knowing the impact it could have on the climate. As aligned with the SDG, the proposed solution should be one that's easily accessible and inclusive of persons with disabilities.
Global food insecurity is becoming a very prevalent issue as climate change has had varying impacts on different countries. Singapore is no exception as we are heavily dependent on food imports. It is crucial that our leaders of tomorrow are educated on this critical issue to ensure the sustainability of our food supply chain. There's also a general lack of awareness among youth regarding how their meal choices can actually have a significant impact on the sustainability of our food supply. Educating them on the impact of their meal choices can empower them to become agents of change. So with that in mind, our team actually decided to focus on youth awareness on Singapore's footprint.
So, as previously identified, youths are agents of change. The UNFCCC found that this group of people is key in raising awareness, running educational programs, and promoting sustainable lifestyles, amongst other environmentally friendly practices. The UNEP further found that 89% of youth respondents say that young people can make a difference in climate change. These numbers are in line with our survey findings as we conducted a pre-campaign survey, and youths aged 20 to 27 years old made 75% of our respondents. And we also found that many of our respondents are unfamiliar with the concepts of carbon footprint and foodprint, where 8 people responded don't know, 30 people said unsure, and 22 gave incorrect answers. So our solution lies in gamification, as 70% of our survey respondents said that playing board games is a good way to acquire new knowledge on a subject that they are unfamiliar with. So what do we hope to achieve from our game is to visualize the environmental footprint and trade-offs of an individual's meal choices.
Our team came to a consensus that footprint should be short, fun, yet educational. The game is competitive and collaborative, as our survey audiences prefer it. The game features food from around the world, and players can grow their own ingredients to make these dishes to win recipe points. At the start of the game, players are randomly assigned an environment and are dealt 5 resource cards each. Using resource cards, players can either plant, feed, or harvest their crops or livestock. Farming certain produce will damage the global environment. Rearing cattle will damage the environment more severely than growing wheat. If the global environment is severely damaged, each player would be adversely affected based on their assigned environment. At the end of the game, a player either wins 1,000 recipe points or when the global environment is damaged beyond repair.
Okay, so moving forward, Footprint hopes to begin refining our gameplay by conducting trials with third-party participants. Then we will also finalize a design for the game, as well as provide educational material that complements the objective of our game. After that, we aim to raise funds to help us market the game to young Singaporeans, collaborating with like-minded organizations, and then perhaps diversifying into other streams. Thank you, and we would like to open up for the Q&A session. Yeah.
So thank you so much to Team Footprint. So perhaps let's move on to hear what our judges have to say. Perhaps Professor Winston, would you like to share, raise some questions or share your feedback on this team idea?
Feedback first. I love the idea. Gamification is always a great way to help people visualize, difficult aspects or difficult topics. So footprint and the choices from those are very nicely done. My kids love playing those card games like Exploding Unicorn. So a variation of what you guys have done is a great idea. But I want to challenge you guys because yes, youths hold the key to solving a lot of the issues for climate change, but would you consider expanding the outreach of your game to older people like myself and everybody else to try and broaden the impact or broaden the footprint, so to speak, of your game?
Oh, okay. Thank you for your question. So yeah, you're right that we initially identified that youths are our target audience for the game. And I mean, the definition of youth is pretty broad because the National Youth Council did define youths to be aged 15 to 35 years old. And for our game trials, we do hope to target youths at a lower end of the age group between ages 15 to 20. But overall, I think that we believe that education starts from the young, and then from there, we will try and broaden it to the wider group in general. So that's the main aim of the game, actually, to be inclusive, because usually games are marketed as ages example, 8 and up. So we are not exactly excluding anyone from any age group, but I think for the ease of trying to fine tune the gameplay, we want to target youth and the age group identified earlier.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you, team and Professor Winston. Maybe let's get one more judge to share her insights. Maybe Jessica, over to you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. And thank you, team, for this idea. I love the idea. We had actually an event that we hosted last month called The Truth About Singapore's Footprint. So I think you're on the right track in terms of trying to raise the awareness of this issue. My question would really be that gamification, although is a very engaging way of kind of reaching out to the masses, how are you going to quantify your impact? How are you going to say that as a result of your game, you have resulted in Singapore reaching its food security targets, or something else, a metric that you might have thought of? I'd be interested.
So a more long-term goal that we have is actually for our game to be adopted into the national curriculum, since we are targeting the younger age group. So we're hoping that it will be incorporated into primary schools, secondary schools, junior colleges, polytechnics. And we are hoping it will be used as a tool for educators to, start a conversation on climate education. So I guess to answer your question more directly, a measuring indicator we'll be hoping for is how many schools we have collaborated with, for instance. So that is one of our long-term goals.
That's wonderful. Very encouraged to hear that, and very impressed that you intend to engage with MOE on this. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Ashley, Liang, Ashwin, Tammy, Raina, and to our evaluators. We are now moving on to the next team, Team 4, Greenbridge. You guys may start whenever you're ready.
Hi, just checking whether you guys can see the screen.
Yep, it's up.
Okay, great. Okay, Edwin, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Edwin Fan from Team Greenbridge, and together with my team, we are here to share about our proposal for the Sustainability Exchange Program. Our mentor is Mr. Michael Tang from SGX, and we are working on the issue of sustainability reporting. In 2016, SGX introduced mandatory sustainability reporting for all listed companies in Singapore. Based on a review of sustainability reports conducted by NUS, we found that small cap companies have the lowest average scores as compared to medium and large cap companies. Given that small cap companies account for 70% of all listed companies on SGX, any improvement in sustainability reporting by this group, underpinned by sustainable business practices, would have a substantive impact on the overall quality of reporting for the entire market. And so our problem statement is, how might we help small cap companies to disclose more sustainability data using targeted assistance so that investors can make a more informed decision in allocating their funds responsibly? The primary area of impact of our project is Goal 17, Partnership for the Goals, as we aim to foster collaboration between SGX and smaller cap companies to improve overall sustainability performance and reporting.
We believe now is the time to take action because of recent developments in Singapore. With the announcement of the SG Green Plan, the Enterprise Sustainability Program by Enterprise Singapore, and the Green Finance Action Plan by the MAS, there is an impetus to engage companies on sustainability issues. We can leverage upon the increased accessibility of funding for SMEs to improve their sustainability performance. Over the past few months, we've conducted both primary and secondary research by interviewing various experts on sustainability reporting and reviewing 18 sustainability reports published by listed companies in the energy and industrial sectors on the SGX. Through our research and stakeholder analysis, we have identified several key issues. Firstly, small cap companies lack resources and expertise in addressing sustainability issues and are primarily focused on bottom line results. Secondly, there is also a lack of financial incentives for small cap companies to pursue the sustainability agenda, as investors and banks do not prioritize it for them. Finally, there's a lack of pressure from regulators, customers, and the media to compel small cap companies to improve their sustainability performance.
So to address these issues, we propose a multi-pronged approach across 3 phases to guide and motivate small cap companies in embarking on their sustainability journey. In phase 1, we will identify bottom-ranked companies using a rating system for sustainability reports developed by NUS. This allows SGX to provide targeted engagement to improve sustainability performance and reporting among these companies. The ratings can be made public to assert influence on companies and help investors easily identify companies with strong sustainability reporting. In phase 2, we will launch a corporate sustainability fellowship program to inspire corporate leaders and share best practices through workshops and sharing sessions. Can collaborate with other partners such as the Global Compact Network Singapore, the Singapore Environment Council, or even eco-business to curate content and develop training materials. In phase 3, we will help these companies to implement sustainable business practices through a sustainability officer as a service by matching independent sustainability consultants with small cap companies to provide advisory and reporting services. Moving forward, we'll work closely with SGX to launch a pilot of the fellowship program by identifying suitable companies and inviting their senior management to participate in it. We will also collaborate with other sustainability-focused organizations to develop the program structure and content. We will then evaluate the effectiveness of the program before scaling it up across different sectors. So let us work together in building a better and more sustainable future for Singapore. Thank you.
So thank you, Team Greenbridge. Now let's hear what our judges have to say. Maybe back to you, Sylvia. Do you have some questions or feedback for our team?
Yeah, no, I'm very, this is very interesting. It's not too dissimilar from my role at Facebook because I do sustainability data for Facebook and we work with a lot of smaller suppliers that face this issue. One comment perhaps is moving some of the activities in phase 3 a little earlier to provide that capacity building, because if you tell them they're red and you maybe get the fellowship going, what we experience a lot is, hey, what do you want me to do about it? I have no, I don't have the skills. So you might want to think about maybe rejigging some of the phases to provide the support a little earlier.
So in response to that, I think how we thought of this is really because right now, as we've identified, there's really no incentive for small cap companies to really want to pursue, a sustainability agenda. So by having the rating system and having the fellowship program, the idea is to inspire the corporate leaders because a lot of these small cap companies, they could be primarily directed by their CEOs or their CFOs, and it's really important for them to understand, why it's important to be sustainable because right now that is just not a priority for many of them. So by inspiring the corporate leaders and then having the sustainability officer as a service that will come in having the independent consultants to work with them over a longer period of time and to tackle more of the But I think we all can all agree that having them understand and say yes, to be part of this is the most important thing, and that's where phase 1 and phase 2 will come in and hopefully motivate them and inspire and say, okay, this is something that I should start doing, and then this is how I can get to with the sharing sessions in as part of the fellowship program as well. Whereas the consultants will come in with a more in-depth and more detailed working with the companies, more recommendations.
Thank you, Edwin. Well, we do have time for one more question. Maybe let's have Professor Winston. So perhaps you would like to share, raise some questions or feedback for Team Greenbridge.
Yep. A quick comment. Firstly, good to see some familiar faces there. Hi, Sherry. Good, great project, very well researched. I'm just wondering though, because usually for small cap companies, when I discuss issues with them regarding sustainability and its reporting, they always come and complain that it's a standards issue. So apart from Sylvia's very good suggestion of playing around with the phasing a bit. I'm not sure how much interaction or discussions you've had with Enterprise SG on this front to see how the tweaking from the the other side, the supply side, the non-inspiring side of things, can help towards greener initiatives for these companies. So maybe it's something to consider as well as you develop this idea along.
Yep, I think Enterprise Singapore would be an important partner, especially with their enterprise sustainability program that they decide to roll out. As part of our research phase stakeholder validation, we have not actually approached them, but we actually interviewed listed small cap companies and understand from their perspective, what are some of the issues and challenges. We also spoke with sustainability consultants. They actually work, with these companies, and the kind of feedback that we get from them is that they really must have the desire to want to do something, right? I mean, a lot of times, yes, this is they're doing this for compliance reasons, for SGX, because they have to publish a sustainability report. But I think what's important for everybody to understand is that the sustainability report is sort of like the ending. It's like, you need to have sustainability sort of like business practices and operations such that you have something to report on at the end of the day. So a lot of these companies, they do not have all these things in place, or they do not focus on this, and such that when their sustainability report comes out, it's very vague and empty, and that's why they score low, in the NUS report. So the idea is to help them improve their operations, improve their performance, such that their reporting as a whole will altogether improve. So that is what we hope to achieve with this program.
All right, so thank you so much. Thank you, Edwin, Sherry, Siri, Ines, Michael, and to our evaluators. We're now moving on to our final team, Youth Sustainability Professionals. You may begin.
Hi everyone, we will be presenting on a proposed SME Youth Sustainability Initiative mentored by Ms. Cheryl Chen from S&P Global. Our team will be working on two main goals: to assist SMEs in achieving sustainable business practices and reporting, and to assist youth in gaining exposure to sustainability. Towards these goals, we identified the following problem statement: how might we shape and increase the inclusivity of local tools to enhance the integration of sustainable business models by local SMEs, thereby accelerating Singapore's transition into a sustainable business hub? This problem statement will primarily target SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. To validate our problem statement, we surveyed or interviewed students and multiple SMEs and experienced companies. Some of these companies are shown on this slide. On the businesses front, there's a consensus that focusing on more sustainable business practices rather than reporting will be key for SMEs. Additionally, SMEs could benefit more from access to more structured and simplified accessibility processes. On the student side, notable takeaways include how students interested in sustainability have a lack of access to career-related opportunities. A whopping 90.9% of respondents are interested in the student consulting program working with local companies, which our team endeavors to make a reality. Here's an overview of our proposed solution. It will be a 3-phase program over 4 months, including training in sustainability business practices and reporting for students, an internship in experienced companies, as well as a period for students to apply the takeaways and help SMEs advance towards more sustainable business models. Our proposed solution will require the support of multiple stakeholders in the common ecosystem, including partner companies, youth, as well as other supporting organizations.
So for the youth, we are planning to involve current undergraduates and fresh grads who are interested in sustainability-related careers and have the relevant aptitude required by the partner companies. They will undergo a certified sustainability training program to equip themselves with the necessary skills required in a developing area of work. The partner companies encompasses 2 different groups: the companies experienced in sustainability, taking on the role of an advisor in the program, and SMEs or inexperienced companies who are keen to kickstart their sustainability journey. Through the program, we aim to facilitate the transfer of knowledge and sustainability-related expertise from the experienced to the less experienced companies. We do acknowledge the time crunch in the onboarding of youth by the companies during our program, but we feel that the long-term cost and time savings in developing sustainable business practices will definitely outweigh the additional time and effort spent initially. Lastly, we group the supporting organizations into 4 different buckets: knowledge partners who are experts in sustainability such as eco-business, training partners who have the capabilities to provide professional training like GCNS, and the SME and youth platforms that provide the networks with the respective groups. We've spoken to various organizations mentioned and received their support to work with us on the program. Furthermore, this will also be aligned with the goals of the recently launched SG Green Plan in strengthening the sustainability agenda in Singapore. In our program, We aim to engage with at least 10 stakeholders across our sustainable business ecosystem for long-term partnerships, and we hope to survey them regarding the effectiveness of our program in achieving our common goals and interests.
We aim to set up a small-scale pilot to test our initiative and gain feedback for further development. We intend to run our first pilot starting this year, engaging 3 SMEs from different industries, where we have interest from the energy and construction sectors. Secondly, to engage and train up to 15 students with GCNS who is interested as a training partner. And lastly, we aim to target companies within the scope of SDG 12, such as packaging and energy. In the long term, we hope to maintain this program as to be recognized under a suitable host organization to gain credibility, engage students to support the initiative, rotate with different industries, and lastly, develop a training curriculum based on feedback. We intend to develop a toolkit to equip students to understand SMEs, assess their business models, identify the relevant industry indicators, and equip students to match companies with the relevant indicators. So for the pilot timeline, we aim to match SMEs by the 3rd quarter of this year with trained students. By the end of the year, we hope to have students working with companies directly during their holidays. And by next year, students will present their findings, gain feedback, and implement solutions if desired. So our budget for this pilot will be primarily focused on training, which may be up to 22K. This is based on our current costing for training programs. Given this current situation, we aim to conduct it virtually. So moving forward, we hope that we can gain your support in networking to attract SMEs and youth in our first run. We seek your endorsement in applying for funding and your input and advice in developing the curriculum and initiative. We'd like to thank EB Impact for their support and the judges, the companies who took the time to share their input, and of course, our mentor, Cheryl. Lastly, we hope that together we can create a supportive ecosystem for all. Thank you for your kind attention, and we are very open to questions from the judges. Pass it over to Samantha.
So thank you, team. Now let's hear from our judges. Perhaps Jessica, would you like to ask some questions or share some insights?
Yes, thanks very much, Sam. And thank you to you sustainability professionals. I love that you're already engaging us and you mentioned us several times in your program. I think training and develop absolutely is a very huge area in Singapore right now. I guess my question to you is that given how broad sustainability is, how are you actually going to come up with a curriculum that meets the needs of such a large range of organizations? And how do you determine that your curriculum also is sufficient in helping the youth understand what are some of the material issues that are relevant to these SMEs?
So I'll take that question. So actually, currently we're looking at indicators to form our curriculum, such as SSD materiality map, which can be divided by industries. However, when we interviewed the companies, a lot of them said that despite training, you won't really know how to react until you actually go into the companies and assess their business models. So what we intend to do is equip students to understand how to break down the business model into relevant indicators, understand it before applying these industry indicators such as SSB materiality map. So we aim to go for more general training first, and when they actually go to the companies, they can apply what they've learned.
Thanks for your response. I think it's great that you're focusing on SMEs because they're really usually the ones that are under-resourced compared to the big companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess, for your questions. Maybe we have time for one more. Perhaps Kenneth, do you have anything you'd like to ask or share?
Yeah, hi. Well, first, to echo Jessica's point about how I'm really happy that you're focusing on SMEs. I think there's a great area to work in. I like the idea, but I guess maybe just 2 thoughts for you to consider, 2 challenges that you may face in future. First is to get the number to get SMEs on board, right? They need to be clear that this benefits them, right? So for this, you may have to sell the narrative of why sustainability makes good business sense for them. Maybe the second challenge is actually about the curriculum. This adds on to Jessica's point. It's not just, I think, the school-based curriculum, but also the workplace curriculum. What the students learn at the classroom you have to find a way for them to apply it in the real-world situation at the workplace. So this calls for a very tight coordination between workplace learning and school-based learning. So I think it's a great idea. I would start maybe with a few committed SMEs and a few very committed professionals like yourselves and learn from there. Thanks.
Thank you for your input. Yes.
Thank you so much, Jessica and Kenneth. Sorry. Thank you so much, Jessica and Kenneth. Now, thank you all teams for your presentation. Apart from these 5 teams, now let's move on to the next segment where we get our judges to share some general feedback for all 21 teams that they've reviewed and assessed. Perhaps, can I get Professor Winston? Would you like to get the ball rolling and share some of your feedback for all 21 teams?
Always me to go first. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Firstly, I think I'll restrict my comments to just 3 points. First point is I'd like to applaud all the teams, the 21 teams that submitted their ideas. They were thoroughly researched. They were quite practical. I enjoyed watching and reading your presentations. It is clear that all of you take sustainability seriously, and that's to be applauded, especially in this day and age, with all sorts of complications such as COVID and phase 2 restrictions, so on and so forth. So that's good. Keep it because it goes to the second point of making sure that you remain passionate about this subject. The ideas, as you see, once it comes into conflict with the real world, you will face a lot of hindrances and a lot of challenges. A lot of you go into the actual nitty-gritty of implementing these ideas. Like for some of these projects, one criticism I would have is that they're still rather broad-based. Sustainability, yes, you should aim for the skies, but sometimes reaching a higher level, getting the relevant sectors that you are trying to implement your ideas with, the SMEs or larger companies, you want to push them to a new level. You want to push them to make sure that they are cognizant of the importance of sustainability, of reducing their climate change footprint, so on and so forth. You have to do that. And the third thing is don't give up. The idea is there. Get it funded, get it effected, and I think you can count on the older generation, like people like myself and some of my judges, if I could say that we are
Thank you
the
so
older
much,
generation.
Professor.
Do that. Okay, so that's
Sorry.
all I got to say. Oh, back to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Professor. Oh, thank you so much, Professor. Now let's have Sylvia. Sylvia, perhaps some general comments for our 21 teams who participated for the program.
I just have to say I loved being part of this. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of it. I just thoroughly loved watching all 21 videos, and I was really impressed by the breadth of the topics as well as how thoughtful you all were in developing your solution. I also really appreciate your focus on trying to scale and the impact that you're having in the world. So to echo what the professor said, just keep it up. This is going to be a long fight for all of us, for humanity. And so please keep going. Please keep at it, because we're counting on you to save all of us. So thank you.
Now, Jessica, would you like to also shed some light?
Thanks very much, Sam. And I'd like to echo, the other evaluators on the congratulations and commendation of all the teams. I think the toughest bit that we had when we reviewed all the ideas was choosing, which 5 could present, because there were just such a wide range. The breadth of the ideas were really amazing. I particularly liked also that project around healthcare. I think healthcare is a huge issue globally, and improving sustainability in healthcare absolutely is a very key issue. There were also quite a few ideas around food waste, which is very, very good. But I guess what I would advise teams also is that when you go into thinking about where your unique proposition is, that you do look at what's already out there and try and prevent perhaps duplication of efforts that already exist, and that would usually help pique the interest of organizations who are willing to implement your project as well as to fund your projects. On the topic of funding, some of you had mentioned it during your presentation. I think it would be something that perhaps we can get MSc Kenneth to touch on, because they have the SG Eco Office Fund, which I understood had just announced the first grant call, but they will have subsequent grant calls, which I think that all these projects can qualify. Kenneth, you can chip in later. And the other thing also is that we have our mentors, and I'm so encouraged to hear, the likes of, say, Michael at SGX already implementing the ideas and everything that we can do, EB Impact, with our strategic partner Facebook, and our supporting organization, the Climate Action SG Alliance. We will definitely support all of you to take your projects to reality. So I would just want to say, keep in touch. And I chair the Alliance, and I was already thinking how I can rope in all the projects into the Alliance, into the 5 pillars of the Singapore Green Plan that we're working on. So thank you again for all your efforts. I was very impressed.
Thank you, Jessica. Now on to you, Kenneth. Maybe is there anything you'd like to share with the youths, your general thoughts and feedback?
See, I knew there was a reason why Jessica invited me to be on this panel, so now I know. Need I say also that Winston's actually on our advisory committee, so he also has a role to decide how the projects get funded. So I think to sort of respond to Jessica's comment, I think the EcoFund definitely is there as a resource for you. We look not just for environmental outcomes, but also about how you engage and involve the community in delivering those solutions. So I think that's a very important point. I think many of the projects here also focused on engaging the community. The second point I wanted to make is that I think there were many, a mix of ideas. Some were very new, novel ideas, almost avant-garde, and some of them actually built on existing platforms and channels. But I think in both cases, but especially the former maybe, I would be my advice, I guess, to the participants is to focus on how you implement the plan, otherwise just an idea. The third final point I want to make, and I think this is really the most important point, many of us here are here because we are in the space and passionate about sustainability. But actually, in order for there to be a real movement out there and real change, you need to kind of reach across the aisle at the broader community who may not be so sensitized and aware of the importance of sustainability. So while many of the projects today focus on people who are already converted, for example, the youth, but it will also be useful for us all to think about how we go beyond the choir, don't just preach to the choir. So I think that's my third and final point. And it was, of course, a pleasure to go through all the videos and proposals. I was really energized by just going through them. Thanks.
So thank you, Kenneth. And with that, thank you all 21 teams, mentors, for being part of the program driven by sustainability. Thank you to all of our judges for being here today with us. So without further ado, we're moving on to our next segment. I will now pass on the time to Jessica.
Thank you very much, Sam. And thank you once again to all the teams, mentors, and judges who have spent their time, looking through all these proposals. They were so wonderful. And I hope that, we could continue the great work that has been demonstrated here. I'd like to move swiftly now to our sharing session. And I think we can get a bit more of a sneak peek and like insight into that journey to get, all the teams to this stage where they're presenting their ideas. And I now like to welcome our speakers. We have with us 2 mentors, and that's Ralph Dixon, Director of Environmental Investments at YTL Corporation, as well as Ms. Cheryl Chen, the Director of Corporate Responsibility and Sustainability Asia Pacific at S&P Global. And we also have with us 2 youths, Siobhan Loh from Wildlife Warriors, as well as Egwin Fan from Greenbridge. Welcome, speakers. Hi to all of you.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. Perhaps we'll start with Cheryl. Cheryl, can you tell us a bit more about your experience participating in this program and what you've gained from it?
Thanks, Jessica. Firstly, congrats on the successful wrap of the Sustainability Exchange program today. When I first saw the call out for this program, my first thought was, what a wonderful idea. And as evident in the overwhelming signups for both participants and mentors, there's so much interest and passion of the youth, but also a lot of interest and passions of those of us who have the good fortune to be in this space to share our experience, widen the access, and build the future talent pipeline for the sector. In working with the team, I'm very impressed with them, Tun Xian, Nikita, and Chu Yu, as team sustainability practitioners. They showed a lot of interest and initiative from the start to the end. I think we didn't miss a single bi-weekly session. I think we toggled between in-person and virtual. They came prepared for every session. They took good minutes and were equally good in the planning and execution. And I think one very enriching takeaway from this program was, as you've heard in their presentation, they conducted online surveys and one-on-one phone calls with sustainability practitioners in more than 10 companies. And it was very, I would say, rewarding to hear directly from these stakeholders. And everyone we approached was very supportive to share their inputs, to shape the program, to share the challenges that SMEs face in the sector. And it's really all thanks to the credibility and endorsement of this program and the reputation of EB Impact, eco-business, that every stakeholder that we approach were very willing to share their thoughts and insights with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for sharing your perspectives. Perhaps we can move on to a youth participant now. Siobhan, perhaps I can get you to share what have your experience been.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much for having me on this panel, and hello to everyone. So when I first saw this email come in November last year, I was like, I gotta be a part of this program. And I'm not just saying it because like the experience so far has really been absolutely valuable. So I was super excited about the opportunity at first because of two main reasons, right? First of all, that ability to learn and contribute to a cause that I was very specifically interested in, because you also asked us to identify the SDG that we were particularly wanted to contribute to. So I really like that aspect of the program. And sustainability is such a complex issue. It's so broad, like you said earlier, Jessica. And I want to focus on wildlife and conservation. This is something that I'm passionate about. So I really loved how the program allowed us to identify these goals, the very specific ones to work towards, pair us up with the experts on the issue, and then give us this chance to work in such a dynamic environment and dynamic team, and with like-minded individuals to deliver these results, right? And these really tangible results at that, because we're supposed to run these projects on our own. And indeed, like I mentioned before, it was really eye-opening, the whole experience. It was so valuable, brainstorming, getting to know each other, narrowing down the scope of the project with our mentors, hearing from all these experts in this space, learning from the experience. So really a big shout out to my team, my teammates, Jashin, Cassandra, Yangxi, and our mentors, Michael and Chitra from WWF, for this like amazing experience. And the second point I wanted to add, and I'll keep it short, is that it comes from a more practical point of view. Like eco-business is such a reputable organization and trusted brand, and just the ability to work and network with people like yourselves on these esteemed panel, and having to speak here with, and share my experience with like hundreds of professionals, sustainability professionals. For someone who has not had that exposure before, I found this really, really helpful, and almost like a try before you buy kind of experience or opportunity to as our first foray into the sustainability field and expand our professional circle. So thank you for the opportunity, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Shaban. I hope that we have convinced you to consider a career in sustainability.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sold.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next mentor, Ralph. Ralph, please share with us your highlights.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jessica. I feel rather guilty because it was such an enriching experience for me. And I'm hoping that my mentees got as much out of it as I did. But seeing their passion and their innovation or creativity was really amazing. And I think we just had so many, I was a bit different to Cheryl. We had so many different diverse ideas, ranging from carbon, water, and waste labeling products, through to how to treat incinerator bottom ash. And finally, we got onto healthcare waste issues with obviously the pandemic and the waste that's been generated there. So we tried to, trying to moderate this type of discussion and exchange, and then not being too prescriptive was quite challenging. But we eventually came to a happy ground that everybody felt, included parts of their different initiatives or proposals, and that was to create a blueprint for a sustainable outpatient dialysis center. Now, looking back at what we saw today, we were probably too specific. we homed in on something that couldn't apply to many people, but what we think it might do is to really open up the healthcare sector, being one of the targeted areas under the Green Plan, to say there's so much more we can do here. We'll just start with this little bit. We'll create a blueprint, and we're still working on it, and we're going to still go through with it with the help of sponsorship from both YTL and obviously the work of the student or the mentees. And I hope that we can have an impact regardless of not being in the top 5. I'm very impressed, and thanks again, Jessica. You've done an amazing job in coordinating this and providing the whole framework and structure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ralph. The credit goes to Samantha and the entire team behind this. And I actually really loved your project. It was actually one of my favorites. And I think that healthcare is a huge, huge industry. I was hosting a podcast on healthcare and sustainability, and the sector is the 5th largest emitter in the world. And yet, I don't think that the strides are being made in healthcare to reduce that. So I would love to be in touch with your project and see how else we can scale it to perhaps not just in dialysis treatments, but maybe on other aspects of healthcare as well. So thanks so much for your perspectives. I'd now like to invite Edwin to give his perspectives on what has your journey been like.
Well, I really enjoyed this whole experience because, we really had, hands-on, opportunity to work on a real-world problem. We got to, co-create the problem statement and the solutions together with our mentor. And our mentor actually helped us, to connect with internal stakeholders in SGX. We spoke with Harry, who's just recently appointed as head of sustainability and sustainable finance at SGX, and hearing about, their plans on, pushing sustainability from the exchange point of view. He also helped us connect with other listed companies. So we really got the opportunity to speak, to understand the constraints faced by all these companies. And I really enjoyed working with the other passionate youths who are also interested in tackling climate change and corporate sustainability. Shout out to my teammates Sherry, Ines, and Su Yuan. Who over the past few months we did a lot of work. Trying to do a lot of research and talking to all the different experts and the companies as well, and did a lot of reviewing of the sustainability reports and understanding how they can be improved. I think one of the highlight was the fact that we actually organized a webinar on sustainability reporting, and we invited some of the mentors who are mentoring teams who are working on sustainable finance projects. So special shout out to Cheryl, Lynette, and Michael, who actually shared their experiences as a practitioner, how they actually deal with some of the issues on reporting on their day job, right? Which is what it's really insightful to hear the challenges that they face and how that can be translated into the real world. So once again, thank you so much for the opportunity for us. It's a great learning opportunity, and definitely inspired me to want to continue to pursue a career in sustainability.
Wonderful. That's music to my ears. Thank you so much, Edwin. And yeah, thanks for your comments. I think that, the time as well as the effort put in by the mentors and youths is really shown through all the projects. And I know Michael, has mentored you guys well, and the idea that's come out is very implementable, and so encouraged to hear that that's already something that SGX is thinking of implementing, because at the end of the day, when we measure the impact of the program, is really how far these projects go. So we have time for some questions, so I'm going to encourage perhaps our participants to maybe ask some questions. Perhaps people who are new to the program who perhaps want to know more could ask their questions. But to start the ball rolling, perhaps I can ask you, what were some challenges? Because I'm sure that everything was not a bed of roses, and like Ralph mentioned, sometimes coming to consensus is also quite a difficult task. So were there any particular instances where it was a little challenging, and then how did you overcome that? Open it up to any of you. Someone wants to volunteer?
Yeah, Jessica, if I can share as well.
Yes, please.
And actually, all 3 of the youth participants in the team, they have very, very, very packed schedules. And one of them is even on an internship. And I am really very, surprised that they managed to find time and effort, as you've mentioned, to put the work into this program. And this program, how deep and wide you want to go, it really differs team to team. And for this team, I think they have really put in the sweat equity in addition to their full-time studies, and I believe it was week 14 and 15 when it was the pre-exam week and the exam week, when they were doing the one-on-one surveys and the phone calls with the companies.
That's very impressive.
Correct. And we were always, wanting the companies to be available. And I was like, oh no, they recommended 10 a.m. But I think it was, not sure if it was class time or exam time for them. But because of their commitment to this program and their passion to learn and hear directly from the stakeholders, they have really made it work.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cheryl. Actually, when we launched this program, that was the one thing that we were afraid of, is that there's so many things that youths can do these days, very competitive landscape. So we weren't sure if, a 3-month mentorship program was going to fly. But I think as we can see from here, the depth of the experience actually counts for something, because, there are a lot of programs where sometimes perhaps it's, just a one-day exercise, and really what you can gain from a more prolonged exposure, demonstrates itself. So thanks a lot for that, Cheryl. Any others?
I'd just like to quickly add, Jessica, I found one of the issues was actually maybe a generational thing, but trying to run as fast as them, just keeping up with the thought process and the speed of, the way the concepts evolved and mutated. It was quite challenging for me, and I had to put on different shoes to do that. So I think it is mostly to do with the way this generation is different from the way we did things. We don't so much multitask, or we're not so good at it. And I think that really came out in this process. But actually, it meant that the productivity was very, very good. But it was just a little bit challenging for me.
Yeah, no, that's really, thanks for that, Ralph. And you imagine if every generation gets faster, what's going to happen when our children get to the age of 20 and above? Yeah, I think that's interesting.
If I may share as well, from a youth participant's perspective, I think something that was probably obvious to all of us when it came to the challenges of implementing and suggesting some of the ideas that we had in mind, right, was really the uncertainty due to the pandemic, or any kind of barriers that were posed by, potential restrictions or waves, or the inability to perhaps hold activities in person, which was one of our initial ideas. It was to hold physical tours of certain locations in Singapore, to raise awareness and engage the community and help them understand about wildlife products, which obviously was not going to be scalable or feasible in this current environment, given a variety of different reasons. Most things had to be digital. So we, having only been in this pandemic for a year and a half, initially some of our ideas were really to, let's do this, let's do that in person, let's do this amazing race kind of style of activity where we would be able to engage and have conversations with people in person. But that was just not, we weren't able to conduct that kind of activity. So our mentors were really helpful in this aspect. They helped bring us down to earth, for really enthusiastic, passionate youth who were like, let's do this. They said, we've tried and tested this. Also, these are certain things that would pose, certain challenges. So they reminded us of potential roadblocks that could come in between us and delivering those results based on their experience. And at the end of the day, we decided to pivot to digital engagement or other solutions instead. So I think it's definitely one of the challenges that we faced, but through this team dynamic and the expertise from our mentors, we overcame that.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. And I suppose also, COVID has not really helped with the facilitation of activities or interaction. So it has been, a really challenging time, and it's just amazing to see these ideas come up in despite of it. Agwin, would you like to add?
Yeah, so to your point about COVID, we actually haven't had a chance to meet Michael in person. It's all facilitated through digital means. But I think at that point, in terms of challenge, I think as youths, right, sometimes we may not have the kind of industry experience or knowledge to actually understand, what can actually fly or what will not work, in a corporate environment, because we are idealistic and we think that the world will work a certain way that it should. But having to the mentor, the stakeholder validation, conducting all the interviews, really understanding, how certain ideas may be perceived, or how it's actually how things actually work in the real world, so to speak. That really sort of better informed us and sharpened our thinking. And I think our journey has changed. From the start, we thought that we thought this is a certain way we should roll out a certain solution, but going through the stakeholder validation process and understanding and speaking to all sorts of different experts and practitioners, and our idea changed 180 degrees. So that was a very valuable experience, and speaking to the people who are actually doing this as a full-time job, is really different from conceptualizing it as a case problem to solve in school environment. So I think this was the greatest I think takeaway from this experience.
Thank you very much. That was very inspiring. I want to just ask if anyone has a question. I see a hand raised from Gurminder. Do you want to unmute and turn on your camera to ask your question? Or maybe he accidentally hit the raised hand button. Oh, no, there you go.
Yeah, I'm trying to get online.
Hi. Do you have a question for our panel?
I felt that what you are putting together is extremely interesting, because this is the time and space to start doing things where we can actually implement solutions, and the passion of children and youths and young adults is what we need to harness. But the aspect that I'm trying to get to is, we have spent 30 years since Rio Summit doing a lot of things voluntarily. Governments, cities, corporations have all come forward doing a lot of volunteer work, a lot of volunteering aspects of sustainability. I think now we need to progressively move into permanent solutions, permanent legislations too. And I use the word progressively because I don't think so everyone can jump on board if a compliance system that works for MNCs will work for small businesses or startups. And so I really would recommend that we move in that direction.
Thank you so much, Gurminder, for your perspectives. I think that was very relevant, and you're right. In terms of the bulk of our companies here really are the SMEs, and I think earlier we had a team also present on solutions for them. Any of the panel want to respond to what was shared?
Actually, Jessica, if I can build on Gurminder's point, there is a lot of interest and passion that we see in the youth, which is necessary. But in order to do something or move the needle, we need much more than passion. I use it as the 3H model. The passion comes from the heart, but we also need the head, the knowledge, the informed decisions, which are the low-hanging fruit, which are the barriers, the challenges, the high-emitting industries. But thirdly, the third H is the hand. How can we have a very practical and tangible approach in an outcome solution that is, as Edwin mentioned, realistic and practical? And combining the 3 H's, the heart, the head, and the hand, is the only chance that we can shift the needle when it comes to climate action. So I think for this program and for the other sort of sustainability development programs out there, building across these 3 H's and would really unleash the potential of the youth and advocates in this sector.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I'm going to steal your 3 H's for our youth programs. I think that's wonderful. And actually, I wanted to end on a question for all of you. Sorry to put you on the spot, but can you give me one word to kind of wrap up this discussion to describe this program, what it has meant for you? So we've heard from Cheryl, the 3 H's. Go to Edwin.
I would say motivated, really me and make me want to.
Wonderful. Thank you. Shavan?
Yeah, that's a hard one. You really put us on the spot here, Jessica. I would say valuable. Like it sounds like very cliched, but really was just valuable in so many different ways. Like I mentioned before, the experience and the learnings and the networks that we're building, and we're going to be building the next session as well, right? And just being on this panel in the first place, and being able to communicate our passion, our ideas to the public and to the people attending this session is just, I really think that this experience was pretty exceptional.
Thank you so much, Shavan. And Ralph?
Yes, I think stimulating would be either
I like it, right?
thought-provoking, but that's 2 words, yes. And just to say, Gominda, you have a double in Malaysia called Kermit Singh, who I'm sure is similar to you, who really walks the talk, and I'm sure some of you know of him as well. So, we need people like you to lead the way, and then you have people to follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ralph. And thank you once again to all our speakers for this sharing session. I've learned so much from all of you. Thank you for your participation. And just hang on for a bit as we move into the closing remarks. Right now, I'd like to invite Gavin Chua, the Head of Stakeholder Engagement, APAC at Facebook, our strategic partner for this program, to give his concluding remarks. Gavin, please join me.
Thanks, Jessica. I think we're meant to do this together.
Yes.
And it's just incredible how in the last, how long has it been? We started at 2 o'clock, was it? An hour and a half. Yeah. It's just so much energy. And I just have to say it's a humbling experience to just observe and listen to all the ideas. And there are more than ideas, right? I think Jessica and I were just chatting offline that a lot of these projects have reached implementation phase. Like you're ready to go tomorrow or yesterday. And it's just incredible. So I think in closing, I just want to talk about, I think one of the best forms of closing is to talk about life after.
Yes,
to keep this going, right? So the question in my mind as I was just listening to all the conversations was that how do we harness all the energy that we have and share, right? And how do we build something of a revolving door? And allow me to explain, and this is more for second edition of this program, right? I think when we started, Jessica will remember this, we only have about 50 people that we had in mind, right? Just youths and the corporate mentors combined, 50, that's all. But once we unlocked the gates, once we mentioned the program, there were more than 200 who said, yes, I want to join. And that is just, I was speechless, right? Flabbergasted. So how do we keep this going? I think one of the ways is to look at how, and we've touched on this in our hour and a half, right? Is to look at how we can build a revolving door around support, right? Coming out from the schools, right? The institutes of higher learning, for example. I think some of you have touched on that, on how we can, like Cheryl said, how do we go beyond passion, right? How do we build real skills? So starting from the schools, and then how do we connect the schools with corporates that have sustainability careers that they can offer, right? And then in between, how can we bring in the corporate VCs, the government funding, right, to support the projects that come out from this program. So thinking about all that, I just want to share some of the building blocks of what we're thinking about, because this is meant to be open, inclusive. And just maybe the last word is at Facebook, we're just simply doing our part to inspire real action in the community, right? Given the reach, the platforms that we have. And we're just doing our part as a facilitator. And really, I think the real creativity, the innovation, the energies are coming from everyone here, those who are attending this program. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Gavin. And I'm so heartened to hear that there will be a second edition. And just to, add on to your point about the community that's been built, the revolving door, the mentors and the youth who come through this program, we want to build the Sustainability Exchange alumni. So I wanted to mention this because it's something that's very important, and all the mentors and the youths that have participated in our inaugural program, you are all founders of this program, and you will be the alumni as we induct more mentors and more youths. And hopefully this can be, become a movement that we inspire more youths to take on sustainability careers, that we, push for greater change, impact, whether it's policy legislation or whether it's corporate action. And I think together it's a very timely movement given, our global trends that we're seeing. I mean, Gominda mentioned about how Rio Summit was 30 years ago, and for the longest time, nothing happened. Even, when we set up EB like 10 years ago, nothing was really happening, starting to happen. And I think today, with the Singapore Green Plan and so many conversations happening on a global stage, not just conversations, but actions. The IEA made headlines this week saying that, we need to cut fossil fuel projects, investments to reach our net zero stage by 2050. And then the complex resource challenges that we have as well, and our land use issues like deforestation, which then, was also linked to the emergence of COVID. So I think that these issues are going to stay for a very long time. And again, I'm super inspired by everything that we've heard today. And Gavin and I, when we started, I think we had some expectations, but you all have blown our expectations away. So we're not just saying that, it really is true. So thank you so much for your participation. As we bring this discussion to a close, I would now like to invite everybody to turn on your cameras, because we are going to be commemorating this special occasion with a group photo of everyone. So if I can give everyone a few seconds to all turn on your camera, we are going to be taking 5 photos because there are that many of you here. So Ben, I hope you're ready for this screenshot bonanza. Okay. So on the count of 3, I would like all of you to smile, and then we're going to keep that smile on, okay? 3, 2, 1, smile. And keep it going because we have another screenshot to take. And 1 more second. And the final 2 seconds. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for being part of this closing event and showcase. I've just been really, really inspired, and I cannot say that more. I hope all of you stay in touch because we are now going actually into our networking sessions. I know not everyone had signed up for it, not everyone is available, but for those who are involved, please do stay on because you're going to be sent into your networking groups. So go get a short break, grab your favorite beverage and join this chat in a bit. We will have eco-business and EB impact moderators in this conversation, and it's just meant to be a relaxed chat so you can meet people in the EB Impact Sustainability Exchange Network and to share ideas. So thanks again everyone for your participation. Thank you Gavin, Facebook, Sylvia, our partners, the Climate Action SG Alliance, our evaluators, Professor Chow and Kenneth, and also to Ben, the EB Impact Organizing Team, Sam, for putting this event together. See all of you and have a great week ahead. Bye.